flat using the services of an interior designer. The paper says among the items he bought, cushions and a flat screen TV. Saminga says the claims were in the spirit of the rules. Party leader Nick Clegg claimed over £80 on foreign phone calls. He's promised to repay the money. What about Chris Hoon? Well, he put in an expenses claim of £119 for a trouser press. A spokesman said he's already paid back the cash for that. And Lembit Opik, well, he claimed £40 for a court summons after not paying council tax on his second home, and he's agreed to pay that money back too. Speaking to reporters this morning, Nick Clegg said he was determined to ensure that all Liberal Democrat MPs clean up their acts.
I've seen a number of things have been written about Liberal Democrat MPs in the press this morning. I take those very seriously. I'll look at each of the things that are said about Liberal Democrat MPs, and I will come down like a ton of bricks on any MP who has sought to defraud the taxpayer, profit for personal gain in the property market. So far, to my knowledge, not a single Liberal Democrat MP has committed the biggest abuse which has emerged in the revelations over the last few days, and that's flipping from one home to the other to avoid capital gains tax and to make a big personal profit.
Well, let me ask our guests about this. It's just been an embarrassing week all over. Do the Liberal Democrats perhaps come off better than the other parties, do you think?
I think the Telegraph has its own agenda and it's structured it this way. My real one, I think a lot of politicians, the worry now is, particularly given what Lord Tevitt said the other day as well, that there will be a hemorrhaging of votes away from all the main parties, and a lot of fringe parties and some quite nasty ones might do very well indeed. And I have to say, I think Cameron has come out of this strongest because he clearly took the lead and initiative yesterday. And I think it's easier for an opposition to move speedily more than a government. But I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the whip is withdrawn from some people who have been the most egregious in this abuse.
Do you find it interesting that perhaps it's things like a trouser press that really stick in the minds? I mean, you've also got here with the Liberal Democrats, and let's just stay with them for a moment, allegations that some have claimed on second home allowances where actually their children have ended up living. Now, those things sort of seem to be lost in the white noise, but a trouser press, well, that comes out and they grabs the reader, doesn't it?
That's the way of the media, isn't it? But in my view, I agree with what Ken's just said, that I think David Cameron showed very strong leadership yesterday and Gordon Brown is playing catch-up. But in my view, there is only one way out of this morass. We should not decide our own pay, our own pensions, our allowances. Members of Parliament should not decide them themselves. They should be decided by a totally independent body who should decide exactly how we should be paid, what we should have our way of pension entitlement, what allowances we should have. It is intolerable, the current system whereby we decide them for ourselves. That should stop.
OK, well, I mean, today, as we've said, is the day for the Liberal Democrats, and I'm delighted to say we're joined by Norman Baker.
Speaker's best friend.
Yes, well,
it's mutual.
We will come to the Speaker in a moment, but just first of all, are you ashamed of members of your party this morning after these revelations? Do you think, look at them and think, why did you do that?
Well, of course, there are claims that shouldn't have been put in. It's the same in all parties in the House of Commons, and there is a collective lesson for us all to be learned. I think Nick Clegg's point is a fair one, that the biggest abuse, the flipping of houses, no Lib Dems are implicated in that. And he's put forward a proposal that the ability to get a mortgage on the taxpayer and make a capital gain should be abandoned, and the Lib Dem shadow cabinet has agreed. I'm renting, it doesn't affect me, we will hand back any gains to the taxpayer from that.
May not be flipping, but you've got Andrew George sort of perhaps
Well, he denies
claiming,
that, I should say. I don't know the truth, but he denies that vehemently.
Fine.
I should just put it on the record.
OK, all right. But yet the mire does extend to the Liberal Democrats, who have made it a great issue to say, look, we are cleaner than the others.
To be fair, we haven't gone on that basis. We've put forward proposals regularly to reform the expenses system, going back a long time. I've been doing freedom of information requests back to 2005. Our voting record shows we've voted for reform at every opportunity. But we're not trying to particularly say we're whiter than white. Of course we've got problems in our party, so many other parties have.
So in view of the fact that you have problems in your party and that you're all acknowledging it, why doesn't Nick Clegg follow David Cameron's example and say, right, retrospectively, over 4 years, we're going to have an independent body, it's going to look into what's been going on, and we're going to fess up and come clean about this?
Well, I mean, he's put forward proposals which effectively come to the same thing for many months now. But the reality is it's only now that the political momentum is such that politicians of all parties want to move down that particular track.
Yeah.